Real estate math. How to compute a real estate agent's or broker's commission. In this tutorial, we will describe how to compute real estate commissions. There are a lot of problems in real estate that involve percentages. These real estate problems are computing a real estate agent's commission, computing interest paid when borrowing money, computing mortgage payments, computing loan discounts or points on a mortgage, computing depreciation, computing profit and loss, and computing a return on investment. Each of these will be described in its own video section. Now, one of the top items of importance to each and every real estate agent or broker is how to compute real estate commissions. Commission is how a real estate agent or broker gets paid. Real estate commissions rates around the country can run from anywhere from 1% to 10%. These rates depends on the type of property and the local area. Commission problems come up a lot in the real estate exams. Now, one thing that can be common to these different problems are the base, rate, and part. This can be described as below. It's an equation. We have a circle that describes it, and the circle is kind of divided in half. We have P in one part of the circle, and also R times B, which represents rate times base. If you look below, we have an equation, and the equation is part equals rate times base. Now, the base represents the entire amount, the part represents part of the base amount, and rate represents the fractional value that helps determine the part of the base. Now, with respect to the part equals rate times base equation, the commission is the part, the gross sales price of the home is the base amount, and the rate is the fraction, when applied, that produce and helps determine the commission in this case. For example, this is described below. So we have that same equation. We have part equals rate times base. We said that the part represents commissions. We say the rate represents the rate of commission in this case. And also the base represents like the gross sales price. We have an example. Say we have a house that's valued at $300,000. Let's say if a sales agent says they're going to receive a 5% commission based on a $300,000 home and a 5% commission contract, the commission for that sale would be $15,000. So we have here part equals rate times base. Let us solve some real estate problems. All right, so problem number one, we have 6% commission. So the 6% commission received by a broker at closing was $10,000. What was the gross sales price of the lot sold? So the way to break this down, we want to start off with the equation that we mentioned. So we start off with part equals rate times base. And then we said for this particular problem, the part is going to represent the commission. And the rate is the rate of commission. And then we say that the base will be the actual sale price. All right, so let's match up what we have. So problem number one, we said the 6% commission. So right there is the rate. So the rate of commission in this case will be 6%. We don't have a sales price, so this is what we're going to solve for. And we are giving that the broker receives at closing, the amount that the broker receives at closing is $10,000. So that represents the commission. All right, so we have to break this further. So 6%, when you actually divide by 100, it's going to be 0.06. So we can't use this. So what we have to do is convert it to this value. And that's saying 6 divided by 100 will produce 0.06. So we multiply times the sales price. And here we have 10,000 as our commission. All right, so let's rewrite this equation. All right, so we want to keep the sales price over here. So sales price goes there, or sale price. And so we have 10,000 divided by 0.06. And let's see what this come out to be. So we have 10,000 divided by 0.06. So let's see here. So that's divided by 0.06. Okay. So we have a value of 166,666.66 equals the sales price of the home. And this is what we wanted to show for problem number 1. Okay, so problem number 2. The broker receives a commission of $16,500 on a sales price of $275,000. What was the broker's rate of commission? So in this case here, we want to use this same equation. As you see, we're going to try to use the same equation for all the problems and try to just kind of modify it where it fits. So we have part equals base. Oops, let's I always like to put rate first. Let's say equals rate times base. Okay, so we want to look at so it says the broker receives a commission of $16,500. So automatically we know that this is the part. We said that in this case the part is going to represent the commission. And we have a sale price this time, so that means we want to solve for the broker's rate of commission. So this is what we're going to solve for here this time. This time we are given the actual sales price. So to be the value of $275,000, which will represent the base. Okay, so our commission is $16,500. So what we want to do is we'll keep the rate on this side of the equation. And what we have is we're going to take 16,500 and divide by the sale price, which would be a value of $275,000. And it should produce what the rate is. So let's see what we have. 16,500 divided by 275,000. And it shows that we have a value of 0.06 equals the rate. And when we multiply this value by 100, we get a value of 6, which represents 6%. And that represents the rate. And this is what we wanted to show for problem number 2. All right, so problem number 3, it says the owner would like to receive $50,000 net after the sale of a lot. She agrees to pay the broker a 5% commission For what amount must the broker list the property in order for the owner to net $50,000? So the key to this is that the owner wants to put the property for sale. She knows right in advance that she's going to need the help of a salesperson. They're going to pay the salesperson a 5% commission, but the salesperson has to list it for a certain amount in order to receive its 5% commission, and also for the owner to receive or walk away with $50,000. All right, so to solve this problem, we want to look at the same equation that we had before. We'll have part equals base times, and once again I did it again, so hold on, let me back up a little. This is rate times base. Okay, so we say in this case the net amount is going to represent the part, and also we have the rate minus the commission to the broker. Would be represented here. Okay, and also the listing price. All right, so the owner want to walk away with $50,000, so that represents the net amount. So we'll put 50,000 here, and the rate minus the commission to the broker. So in this case, we have to be theoretical here. So we're really showing 100% minus the 5%. And we want to say we're trying to locate or determine what is the listing price that the agent must list the property. That's the goal here. So let's transform this equation. So we have 50,000 to the left of the equal sign. And here we have 100 minus 5%. That represents 95% times the listing price. And so let's break it down even further. So we got 50,000. And so we, like we said in the previous example, we have 95 and divide that by 100, we get 0.95. So we're going to replace the 95% with 0.95%. I mean, let's take that back. Just 0.95 times the listing price. Okay, so in this equation, our goal is to keep the listing price on the right side of the equation. That's what we're trying to solve for. And let's transform it. We're going to say 50,000 divide by 0.95. And let's see what we have. So we have 50,000 divide by 0.9. The value of 52,631.58 equals the listing price. And this is what we wanted to show for problem number 3. Okay, so problem number 4, we have a broker is to be paid a commission of 6% on a sale of $250,000 property. So A, how much will the broker receive? B, the broker will retain 50% of the commission, 20% will go to the listing salesperson, and 30% to the selling salesperson. How much will the salespersons get as a result of the sale? So right off the bat, there's a note about this. In the case, this problem represents a case where one broker will represent dual agency. This is a rare case, and so the transaction will usually consist of the scenario where there's a broker that represents the selling side and a broker that represents the buying side. So as we continue, let's see. So what we want to represent here is, let's see. All right, so we want to represent A. Let's show what we have for A. Let's do A first. So A, say how much will the broker receives, and what we have to do is use the same equation. We have part equals rate times base. And in this case here, the part would be the broker's commission. And the rate is mentioned in the problem above. It says a commission of 6%. So 6% would represent the rate. And we have a sale price of $250,000. So the base would represent the $250,000. So what this says is that we're trying to solve what is the broker's commission. This one is easy. We take the 6%, just like we did previously. We have 6 divided by 100, which is going to give us a value of 0.06. We replace that with 0.06 times 250,000, and it should produce a value of 250,000 times 0.06. And it shows that the broker's commission is going to be a value of 15,000. And this is what we wanted to show for part A. All right, so let's erase that. Let's erase it and prepare for the second part. Okay, now the broker will retain 50% commission, 20% will go to the listing salesperson, and 30% to the selling salesperson. How much will the salesperson get as a result of the sale? So you have to go back that we showed 15,000 was produced from the total sale. So we have 250,000 times 0.06 will produce a value of 15,000. And as I mentioned in the note, that usually the case, there's usually a buying side of the transaction and a selling side of the transaction. So that means that there's a broker represented for the buyer side, there's a broker represented for the selling side, and so that total commission is usually split. So in this case, the 15,000 would be split between selling side, the selling broker, and on the buying side, the buyer's broker. So they both will receive a value of 7,500. All right. So we have the listing side. Really, it's like this. He's taking whatever broker represents that side. So the listing salesperson the listing salesperson would we would just go ahead and do this equation so we'll see that everything can be related to this. So part equals rate times base. All right, so we want to find out what the commission for the listing salesperson. So in this case, the part represents the commission. And the rate, we say we're going to receive a 20% rate for the listing salesperson. And of course, that's applied to whatever their broker received. In this case, it would be $7,500. So we multiply 7,500 times 20%. And it says in this case here, we have a value of 1,500. And this is what we wanted to show for the listing salesperson. Now the selling salesperson, we want to determine what the commission is there. And once again, we will apply the same equation. Part equals rate times base. Okay, once again, the part is going to represent the commission. And so they say in this case, the selling salesperson is going to receive a rate of 30%. And their broker also received their half, and that half would be 7,500. So we multiply 7,500 times 0.30. So the commission will be 2,250. Is what the selling salesperson received as a commission. And this is what we wanted to show for problem number 4. Problem number 5. A property manager has contracted with the client to receive 6% of the gross rent collected. The property is a 3-family with 2 units renting for $1,000 per month and 1 unit for $1,200 per month. What monthly commission will the broker receive if all 3 units are rented for the entire month? All right, so once again, for this here solution, let's kind of break it down. Now, we're not dealing with a total commission. Here we're dealing with rent. So we described that this property has 3 units. So we'll say unit 1, unit 2, and unit 3. So that the first 2 rents for $1,000 per month. So let's indicate that here. Okay, so same thing here. Rents for $1,000 a month. And then the third unit rents for $1,200 a month. All right, so the key is let's add up all of what is they're going to receive for that month. And in this case, we have 1,000, 1,000, and 1,200. The 3 units, we add them up. We get the value 3,200 per month is what they're going to receive. Okay. All right. So what we do is we're going to use the same equation. We have part equals rate times base. All right. Now the part in this case represents the property manager's commission. So we have a property manager instead of a salesperson in this case. So their commission. All right. So the rate, they said up at the top, it shows that a client is going to receive 6% of the gross rent collected. So it says the property manager will get 6% is the rate. Now the base represent what we just computed. We said that the property has 3 units. It has 2 units for $1,000 a month, so that represents $2,000. The third unit rents out for $1,200 per month. And when you add all 3, we get a value of $3,200. Okay, so we want to keep take the 6% and convert. So the 6 divided by 100 is going to give us a value of 0.06. So we replace the 6% that's shown here with 0.06 and multiply the 3,200 that they receive for the month. And what it shows is that so the property managers commission is going to be 0.06 times 3,200, and it shows or becomes or shows or produce a value of 192. And this is what we wanted to show for problem number 5. All right, so problem number 6, 6A, we have Tracy sells George's house for $411,300. Tracy's commission is 6% of the sales price. What is Tracy's commission in dollars? So what we want to do is very simple again. Always start off with the equation part equals rate times base. All right, so in this case, the base represents the sales price. Okay. The rate we mentioned is 6%. And so we're trying to find out what is the commission. So the commission represents the part. And it should be easy. We have, again, 6%. We said that the 6%, when you kind of divide by 100, is going to give 0.06. So we rewrite in the equation. And in this case, the sales price has a value of $411,300. And it should produce the commission. So we have commission here. It's just a matter of just rewriting the equation. Okay, so we multiply the value 411,300 times 0.06, and it says that Tracy walks away with a commission of $24,678. And this is what we wanted to show for problem 6A. Problem 6B, we want to show it's really the same problem, but we're going to reword it a different way. The last problem we solved for commission. So we used the part equals rate times base, and we showed how to compute the commission, or the part. In this case, this equation is going to show we have the commission, we have the sales price, and we want to figure out what is Tracy's commission rate. So once again, we start off with part equals rate times base. And what's given is we say that the part represents commission. And we're trying to figure out what the rate is. And we have the base, which is price of the home, $411,300. And what we want to do is, pull up. So we want the commission now is 24,678. So we're basically rewriting the equation each time. And the base is the sales price, which is 411,300. All right, so we continue to just transform the equation. So we want to solve for the rate. We keep the rate right there. And on this side here, 24,000 is already there. And so multiplication, when you convert over to the left side of the equation, is pretty much you divide. So we're going to say 24,678 is going to be divided by 411,300. And this is going to show the rate. So our rate equals a value of 24,678 divided by 411 and 300, which is a value of 0.06. And of course, we take the 0.06 multiplied by 100, and that would produce 6. But that same 6 is saying that the rate is really 6%. And this is what we wanted to show for problem 6b. Now problem 6c, we have Tracy sells George house and receives a commission of 24,678, which is 6% of the sales price. What was the sales price? So once again, we want to use the part, same equation, part equals rate times base. And in this case, all right, so we have the part represents a commission. And we have a rate of 6%. And as you notice inside the problem above, we do not have the case where the sales price is listed. So we'll indicate that here. This is what we're going to solve for. All right, so the commission is 24,678. Then the 6%, we're going to convert it. You guys have seen how I converted previously. So 6% represents 0.06. And we want to try to determine what is the sale price. Okay, so over here we have 24,678 divided by 0.06. And of course, this is going to equal the, not the sale price, should be sales price, sorry. And so we have down here sale price should be what we compute. So we have the value 24,678 divided by 0.06, and it shows a value of 411,300, and this is what we wanted to show. All right, so problem number 7. We have Tracy sells George's house for $200,000. The commission is 7.5% of the sales price. Tracy's broker received 50% of this amount from the listing broker as the selling broker's share. Tracy herself is entitled to 80% of all commissions that she is responsible for bringing in. How much does Tracy receive? And once again, so we have 3 different problems here. Each of them going to be solved with the same parts equals rate times base equation. All right, so part 1. So we want to determine the commission. And also the commission rate is represented here. And then the base is going to be the sales price. All right, so we're given that the rate is 7.5%, and then also the price of the home is 200,000, and that represents the base. And we want to determine what is the commission. So total commission. So we have the 7.5. This is 7.5, the same as saying 7.5. Oops. And then divide by 100, and that's going to produce a value of 0.075. So replace that here. 0.075 times 200 equals the commission. So what multiply, we say 200,000 times 0.075. It's going to equal a value of 15,000. And this is the total commission. Okay, now what we want to do is, so we'll leave that there. So we say Tracy's brokers receive 50% of this commission. So what we do is we show that 15,000. So we say that 50, you ask the question, 50% of 15,000 is what? And then this, it comes out to be an equation. So the 50% represents 0.50. The of represents multiplication. And then we have the value 15,000. Here we just rewording the equation. The is an equal sign. And then whatever we're trying to find. So we're trying to find out what is the particular half that the broker gets or receives. So 15,000 times 0.50 equals a value of 7,500. And that answers the second part of it. So 7,500, Tracy's broker receives 7,500. So this goes to the broker. Okay, now the ultimate question, Tracy gets 80% of what amount? So what we have here, we have 80% of 7,500 because her broker receives 7,500 from his share of the transaction. And we asked the question that 80% of 7,500 is what? And that what is going to determine what Tracy receives. So the 80% is the same thing. We take 80% divided by 100. We receive a value of 0.80. The of represents multiplication. And then bring down the 7,500. The is represents equal. And the what represents Tracy's commission. Okay, so we have Tracy's commission, because that we going to just compute what's on the left side of the equal sign. And this is going to become, so 7,500 times 0.80, Tracy receives 6,000. And this is what we wanted to show for problem number 7. All right, problem number 8. Tracy sold George's house for $215,000. The commission rate is 6% of the first $50,000 of the sales price, 5% of the next $50,000, and 2.5% of everything over that. What was Tracy's total commission? So what we have is another part equals rate times base. But first we have to apply it to certain sections of the amount that's received. So let's start off with part equals rate times base. All right, so what we have here, first we have the first 50,000, and we said that according to the equation, the first 50,000 is going to receive 6% of the first 50,000. And so we convert this, we said 6% is really 0.06, and the of represents multiplication. And then, of course, we just pretty much rewriting it. And so what this shows is that the 50,000 times 0.06 equals a value of 3,000. So 3,000 will go here. All right, so let's look at the second 50,000. Okay, so the second 50,000 say they're going to receive 5%. And of course, we said 5%, so the 5 divided by 100 is going to produce a value of 0.05. The of represents multiplication. And of course, bring down the 50,000. And so that's going to produce a value times 0.05. And so we have a value of 2,500. And of course, we said that we have to look at the remaining items. So what remains from, we have 50,000 and 50,000, that's 100,000. The price of the home is 215,000. So that says that what remains is a value of 115,000. Okay, so what we want to show is that we said that 2.5% is represented as, well, let's go ahead and start here first. So 2.5% of what remains is 115,000. So we'll break this down. So we have 0. And that's saying 2.5 divided by 100 will produce 0.025. The of is multiplication. And of course, the value is 115,000. So when we multiply that out, so we got 115,000 multiplied times 0.025. And then that equals a value of 2,875. So the key now here to compute the commission, so total commission is adding up 3,200, 2,500, and 2,875. This gives us a value of 8,375. And this is what we wanted to show for problem number 8. Problem number 9. George sold his house. After paying a 6% commission, he had $250,000 left. What was the sales price of the house? And so what we want to show is parts equals rate times base. And in this case here, the part is what he has left. Really is 250,000. Now, after paying a 6% commission, we want to look at a theoretical solution here. So it's 100% minus 6%. And then we're trying to determine what is the sales price. All right, so let's rewrite the equation. So we have 250,000 on the left. And then, so we have 100 minus 6, that shows 94%. And again, we're still trying to solve for the sales price. So we have the 94 divided by 100. That gives us a value of 0.94. And so we rewrite this equation. We have 250,000 equals 0.94. And then we have the sale price. So let's reword this. We have the sales price will remain on the right side of the equal sign because this is what we want to show, or what we're trying to solve for. So we have 250,000 divided by 0.94. And so we're going to figure out what the sale price is for problem number 9. So we take 250,000 divided by 0.94, and that gives us a value 265,957.44. So the sale price of the house is 265,957. This is after you put the house on the market and the sales person or sales agent received a 6% commission. George walked away with 250,000. This is what we wanted to show. This puts us in a position for my next tutorial where we describe how to compute real estate related interest problems. I hope this tutorial was helpful. If you find this tutorial to be helpful, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, feel free to join us at the computing sector. There will be more videos and tutorials coming soon. Thanks.